So good morning, everybody. Firstly, it's interesting seeing John this morning. I joined Abbey National in my early 20s. That's where I first met John. And I decided that I would probably stay in financial services for 2-3 years before moving into FMCG or into retail. I did move into retail, and then I very quickly came back into financial services, and I've been there ever since. So that says a lot about, I think, how fascinating I think financial services actually is. So customer engagement in banking. What I wanted to talk to you about today is a little bit about a very different case study actually from Monzo. And I really must speak to you later because I do have my Mondo card, so I need to find out how to get a new one. But we had a very different challenge in our organisation. So first of all, who is CYBG? Well, it's a UK independent banking group. For those of you who don't know, it brought together Clydesdale Bank and Yorkshire Bank, who've been together for a very long time, but actually were under the parent group of National Australia Bank. We IPO'd in February of this year, listed on the London Stock Exchange and the Australian Securities Exchange, and first time we've been independent since the 1920s. Massive challenge for us, almost 3 million customers, both business and personal, across the UK after a branch closure program, left with 250 branches. But the first time we were independent since the 1920s, posing very different problems for us as a UK bank. We'd lacked investment for our parent for a long, long time. We had been driven to grow our mortgage book. 2/3 of our balance sheet was in mortgages, and we'd lost the focus very much on customers and customer engagement. We'd lacked investment in digital, and we were very, very slow to respond. We were behind the curve. So one of the things that I had to do was think about what's the future for us. I make no excuse that millennials and actually communicating to my board and leadership team about millennials and that they were the future for us was very, very important. We had an aging demographic across our book. My data guys used to tell me that we lose more customers attrite from our personal current account book through death than any other bank. And they would sell this to me as a positive. Our customers are really loyal. They only leave us when they die. But actually, the realization of what was happening to our base was actually quite startling. And we needed to do something. We did need to attract the millennials. We did need to look at new customer groups. So it says here we wanted to revolutionize, actually engage with customers. And that's not as daft as it sounds. I had to go across a number of times to Melbourne and to Sydney, which it sounds fabulous, but when you've got 5 children, that's a real drag. And I had to go across to try and convince a also aging Australian board that we needed investment. The only way we were going to successfully IPO this organisation, this problem child of National Australia Bank, was to give us investment and really embrace customers of the future. And I just want to show you a very brief film that we created to take across to Australia to actually convince the board that this was what we were facing in the future. And actually, when we started to talk about customer experience then to our board and to our fellow executives, they started to get it. Okay, banking is about experience. That's how we will win if we genuinely listen to what customers want, not force down their throat what we can deliver. So, apologies, just go back that one. You know, I look at all of you here today. It's very difficult for you to put your phone down. I know what that's like. But everywhere we go, we're connected constantly. And as John mentioned earlier, people just don't trust banks anymore. It's coming back more than it did. I was at RBS and NatWest during the crash, so I know exactly how that felt. And you know, customers, it's going to take a long time before they genuinely trust us again. Social media genuinely has redefined the way that we interact. As I said, I've got 5 children. They talk to me mostly through social media. I only embraced that last year, so I actually got to know them again. And they even text me in the house. I mean, what's that about? But you know, I don't live in a big house. They text me in the house because that's the way they do things, and they do it in their own style. And look, we just embrace anything now. So we're open to change. We'll listen to new ways of doing things, whether it's taxis, hotels, whatever it is. We are open to change. And I think that's really, really critical in a way that years ago we weren't. We were more tentative to try new things. We do interact in a completely different way. I love this picture for many reasons, but I love this picture. I think this is after the game as opposed to before it, but you know, they're not talking to each other about what they've just experienced. They're talking to everybody else because they can. And apologies to anybody who worked on Google Glasses in the room, but you know, tech does genuinely work best when it fits in seamlessly. And you know, it has to be intuitive. It has to work. You don't have to explain it. I'm a huge Apple fan, have been for years. The amount of Apple gadgets in my house amongst me and my family are incredible. But when something isn't intuitive, you think they've lost the plot. You know, it has to be, and that's what's important across all industries. And again, one of my favorite brands, used to work there myself, Argos, you know, bringing together digital with the human experience, I think is still really, really important. And when we talk to customers, they tell us that as well, but they want it on their terms. I don't know why I now order more things than I ever did before from Argos, because I can have them today. We have televisions all over our houses, but you do, because it's on my time. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be in the house. I can have it today. I know when it's coming. Great. If somebody says it's going to come in 3 days, I'm not going to be there. You know, it's a great invention. And whilst other industries really have embraced technology, banking has been genuinely slow to follow. Now, a lot of that is because, you know, the digital infrastructure and the technology infrastructure from which we start is complex. I'd love to start my own bank. It must be fantastic, but to try and build platforms to plug into systems that have been around since, you know, 1938 is tricky. But other industries really care about the experience. And apologies to anybody in the room who works for these brands, but I use them because I worked for them or work for them. But we have been slow to respond. We are working from legacy systems. It is difficult to build new infrastructure and to build new platforms, but it's really critical we think about how we improve that customer experience. When I joined Clydesdale and Yorkshire Bank, I guess just under 4 years ago, we hadn't even launched digital banking. We didn't even have mobile banking. It was a hygiene by then, and we as a bank didn't have it. 71% of millennials would rather go to the dentist than talk to their bank or engage with their bank. I'd rather give birth than go to the dentist. However, I understand where they're coming from. But you know, this is important actually for us with an aging demographic of customers. Understanding the future generations and how they wanted to interact is actually pretty critical. 40% of the UK claim to have stress based on financial troubles. You're more likely to get divorced through financial issues than anything else. You're also more likely to get divorced and switch your current account, so I'm wrestling with that one in my mind, but it's true, it really does impact individuals. And as we know, you know, we all claim to be the best at everything, but no bank stands out from the crowd. This is what the customers tell us, not what we as banks say. But we don't. We all offer the same things. We all offer the same services. You know, we're not really stretching from the crowd. So what we did is we went back to basics, and we did talk to customers, and we did want to find out across all customer groups, young, old, existing customers, new customers, what was important to them. I love this example of Premier Inn. I love to study other brands and what they're doing around customer experience. You know, customers were saying, and these are direct quotes, by the way, from customers we interviewed, but don't be radical or try and be different. Just give me what I need. You know, Premier Inn is fantastic. They've stripped back everything, you know. There's no toiletries all bolted to the wall, but they've got great beds because they've decided that that's what the customer told them they want. For this kind of money, I just want a good night's sleep. And if you don't get one, you can get your money back. I think that's a great promise. Obviously, managing my money on the go, you know, it's pretty obvious, but, you know, we find it difficult to do sometimes. And let me talk to somebody or see somebody when I want to. You know, it's that digital and human, bringing those together is still really important for customers in banking. Those higher purchases like mortgages, they want to see somebody or they want to talk to an expert. It's important to them still. And this was a great quote actually from a young designer who said, you know, I think she's a budding copywriter, but help me save on things I'll never miss to experience the things I'll never forget. I love that line. I mean, it sounds like an advertising line, but I love that line. She genuinely meant it. Managing money is difficult, it's hard for whoever you are, whether you've got it or you haven't. So I'm sure you're bored with all of this, but we did actually put into Clydesdale and Yorkshire, which was a very brand new way of working for us, agile working. I'm sure you've all heard, you know, from post-it to pilot in 8 weeks, but we genuinely did think about how we were going to engage customers. And we didn't start from the premise that we were going to build a current account. You know, we didn't have a particularly rewarding current account for Clydesdale and Yorkshire, but we did start from the premise that we are a bank, a full-service bank, and we need to stop and think about what you want. So together with 10,000 customers and 250 colleagues across the organization, we did come up with something that was brand new. But it was built by what customers told us they wanted from us. We went through 16 iterations, constantly with customers, putting it back and forward to them and getting them to use it in front of us. What is it we're building? What is it you want? How does this not work? And we went through 16 iterations and a lot of investment. And we built B. Now, some of you may or may not have heard of B. B is a digital platform. It's not a digital bank. It's powered by Clydesdale and Yorkshire Bank, but it is a separate platform that is plugged into the back of our traditional systems. It allows you to have a timeline on a digital app of all your accounts, and it's unique in that it tracks everything you do across those accounts, whether it's a credit card, whether it's your current account, whether you pay your mortgage. It follows a timeline. So the timeline you see there is personal to you, depending on what you do. Because customers said, I might use a credit card, I might use my current account, I pay my mortgage, I might do something with a loan, you know, and I can't keep track of it all. So this is a unique timeline that actually follows. B is a very different digital app for us as a bank. It has allowed us to target and attract younger, more affluent audiences who wouldn't have considered a traditional bank for their future. And it has also allowed us to go outside of our Yorkshire and Scottish heartlands because it is purely digital, but it is backed by a 7-day-a-week, 24-hour call centre that actually is a B team, recruited very uniquely just to deliver B. We actually auditioned these young people to come in and deliver B. It wasn't like a traditional call centre. And you don't go through an IVR, you get straight through your personal B team. When we put it out to test and put it out to the market, this is the kind of response we got from customers. They didn't know, obviously, we hadn't branded it at that point. They said this is banking from Google or Microsoft or Apple. When we told them it was from Clydesdale and Yorkshire Bank, some of them said who, which was fine. And others actually said, oh, okay, traditional bank, I'm quite encouraged by that. So that was encouraging for us. It is a unique experience. It is, you know, it is all really about the UX of the experience, and we basically spent a lot of time, as I said, going back and forth with customers, getting that right. If it wasn't, you know, intuitive to do, we stopped and we built something else that was. But it does allow you to create savings pots. That kind of jam jar quote is what customers were looking for. It projects, so it will tell you, next week, are you going to run out of money before payday? It will calculate all the things you do on a regular basis. It will take your direct debits and payments that you do. The more you use it, the more it gets to know you. We do want our customers to interact with this so that we learn more about them. It is based on artificial intelligence. We can feed the back end. We know we can personalize the communications that we make to customers about what they're doing. We can tell you if you're going to run out of money. We can tell you if you spent too much money in Pret last week. You know, we want that dialogue with customers because that's what they've told us they want. Help me manage better. It sweeps money for them. It stops them going overdrawn. We give you grace periods to stop you going overdrawn. We don't want to charge you, and we don't want that to be what B is about. B wouldn't do that. You know, it lets you know 2 days before if you're going to run out of money. When you do run out of money, it'll come back to you. And it's not just about people who don't have a lot of money. It's helping people manage and get the most out of their cash when they do have quite a bit of money. It's allowed us as a bank to just go wild, really, with a brand, and actually not think like a bank, not act like a bank, not talk like a bank. And it's allowed us to really, really start to embrace social media in a way that we just could not have done that with those two traditional brands. We've transformed our in-branch, so where we are on the high street, we've transformed it. It doesn't feel like your kind of old stuffy bank anymore, and we'll continue to do that. And I will unashamedly show you our B ad. Now, we had never gone national before. We'd always been a regional bank. We'd never invested in national media because we wouldn't have been able to deliver for our customers. As I said, we only had mobile banking three and a half years ago. So for the first time, we were able to go national to actually see if we could attract a very different audience, an audience for the future profitability of our bank. So we followed that up with different product ads to actually demonstrate what the B app does. But it was deliberate. We just wanted to create imagination, capture some imagination, and we've had over 1 million hits now to our B website, which is phenomenal for a brand of our size. So it's just the start for B. We're about to, in March, launch a B Innovation Lab, which will be on Kensington High Street. Again, a significant investment for us, but we want to co-create, continue to co-create with customers. It all sounds very grand, but it's really about making sure we bring the right people in to help us build, really build propositions for the future. It's really important for us that we do that and not continue to deliver in a traditional bank way. And whilst there's only the current account and B savings accounts at the moment, you can see all your other Clydesdale or Yorkshire Bank accounts on the B app, but we want to go much further than that and have B specific credit cards, mortgages, etc., that will deliver in the way that B is intended to. So I hope that's given you a bit of a flavour how important we think customer experience is, how important we think the future generations are to help us build a better bank. And I look forward to taking some questions from you later on. Thank you.